Podcast.
Haunting Halloween and horror.
You right.
Interviews with haunting gurus. Just back from vacationing in the lava pits of the Netherrealm, it's Baker, joined by our haunting guru guest, Bill Galvin, from the Hull House Haunt in Queen Creek, Arizona. All right, now, before we shamble into the Hull House, as I'm not advertising, shilling products, or shaking people down for donations, the only thing I ask you guys to do is just to recommend Hauntcast to any like-minded Halloween freaks or haunters out there that you know. That's it. I mean, at least just share the show on social media. Anything you guys can do to help spread the Hauntcast disease would be greatly appreciated.
I've been doing it since 2016, Chris. I got you.
Oh, hey, Bill. How are you?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I chime in too early? I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm still packing away the remnants of the haunt and tidying up the dungeon. How's things on your end?
The garage is clear. Everything is pretty much put away. I built that Watchman this year, and he's just still hanging out in the garage, greeting the neighborhood kids as they pass by on their scooters. But yeah, he can hang out for a little bit because everyone's got their Christmas decorations up already. So, you know.
I'm always amazed. Like, you know, maybe if people say the same thing about me as usually, but actually this year was the earliest I got set up. I started setting up. I think I started setting up on September 15th. I usually wait until like the 21st or 20, like almost the official beginning of fall before I start putting things out. This year I got to jump about a week ahead of time and started putting things out. And, it made a big difference, so I'm doing it every year from now on. I was just out today taking the pumpkins. I left the pumpkins up on the tree, still lit, you know, still with the LEDs going every night, while I was on vacation, and I just got back and I left them up until just this morning, and I took them down. But there's a couple of people in my neighborhood who had full blown Christmas, like a day after Halloween, they had their Christmas shit up, and I'm like, dude, come on, you know, we need that little palate cleanser of Thanksgiving before we kick into, you know, the Christmas season. I like Christmas season, but we have a lot of fall decorations here, and I always tell my wife, we should just forego that and just put up Christmas stuff. So I understand why people will just go straight to Christmas. That way I don't have to have an extra 2 tubs of fall stuff. Yeah, I mean, you know, I get it. And what is it? Like a turkey? You know, what else do you put out?
Yeah, just
usually
turn the pumpkins around.
Yeah, exactly. Turn the pumpkins around. You could leave the corn stalks up. The bale of hay could stay. And everything else just goes away. And there you go. You're already ready for Thanksgiving, kids. So, yeah. So, how was your spooky season?
It was great. This is my, I think 4th year in Arizona, and it's just much more quiet. In California, we would have people all month coming by because the SoCal haunt list is very prevalent out there. So there's much more of a, I guess, market for it. You know, people are used to driving by and looking at these displays and stuff, but out here it's very different. So it's more intimate, which I kind of like. I get to just focus on a prop a year and really dial that in and just kind of do it for the neighborhood. I don't really promote the Instagram or on the socials as much as I did back in California, but so it was great. I got some great pictures, which is what I go for now. That's my if I can get a couple good pictures, then I'm excited about it.
How much busier were you in California? Like, if you were to take an estimate on how many trick-or-treaters do you think came by your house?
So it's funny because we bought the house in 2014 and there was no trick-or-treaters at all. And I always just kind of followed the, if you build it, they will come thing. And so each year we built up. And then the last year there was 2020. And so at that point, the theme parks were all closed. So there was no Not Scary Farm. There wasn't any of these haunts because it was in the middle of COVID. So I don't have a number, but it was just every night there was crowds out there, and it made my haunter heart just explode with joy. So that was our last year in California. I was glad to leave on such a good note. But as far as a number, I don't know.
But yeah, but you had, it's a whole different scene out in SoCal.
100%.
Because there's just so much. Yeah. And then you have that list, and probably everybody in the area now knows the list or discovers the list. And then they go out, they're going down the list and just hitting house after house. Yeah, I have to imagine it's a lot busy. I mean, like, I get the occasional person who will come down. Like, I'm kind of so-called in the middle of nowhere. Where I'm located, it's really not easy to get to. I'm on a peninsula. It is really, it's harder to get to. And, I'm about an hour and a half outside of Boston. But yeah, it's just, I don't get many people during the week. The occasional person who will come by and stop and actually get out and take pictures. And, and I'm almost wanting to yell out the window because I can see them using their flash. And I'm like, no flash! You're ruining the picture. Yeah. You're ruining it. Turn your flash off, damn it. Which I don't really do. I'm like, you just get the shitty picture. You want good pictures? Just you come to my IG. Go to at podcast.podcast on IG.
I would say just go out there and take the pictures for them.
Yeah, there's plenty. I'm posting them up on Facebook almost every day. You could grab them there, Instagram or whatever. So basically, now you're in Queen Creek, Arizona, and the numbers have dropped down quite a bit for you. I mean, especially you've only been there for like 4 years.
Yeah, but it's been really cool, and I keep meaning to post like a little before and after thing here. But like, when I got here in 2021, I was fortunate enough to get to join the team over at it's a local haunt. It's put on by 13th Floor Entertainment Group, but it's called Fear Farm out here. So I work production tech on that for the 2021 season. And I did a little display there. And then 2022, I think I made some new tombstones. 2023, I made more tombstones. And then I did that pumpkin wall thing. And then this year I added the gravekeeper and some more lighting. And so it's really cool to see how it's grown in those 3 years. I keep meaning to post like a little reel or something about that, just showing the evolution, because I get a kick out of that. It's a lot of fun.
In Queen Creek, where is that roughly? As far as Arizona, the landscape there, I could pull it up on my Maps app, but I'm lazy, so just tell me where it is.
No, it's all good. It's about 45 minutes outside of Phoenix. It's very much so the country still, but I've been here for 4 years now, and there's stuff popping up left and right. I think at one point it was the fastest growing city in America. I believe.
Yeah, I was actually looking in Arizona for a number of years. I had done about 3 different trips out there.
Yeah, I think I heard you doing motorcycle trips out here, right?
Yeah, I did 3 trips through. I did like a northern trip, which was my first one, which is more sightseeing, and then I did like a southern, and then like a mid, and I kind of covered all of the different areas, and I kind of really scouted out and was looking at different areas, saying, hey, would I like to move out here? Would this be a good match for me? I haven't completely taken it off of my list yet, but I kind of changed my game plan as far as when I was looking to move out of the state. So I'm like, right now my business is going really well, and I don't want to screw anything up. So I might as well just ride this out for another 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years. Then once I hit my financial goal and I could pseudo retire, then so I've got many years. I'm just going to keep going out and hitting different states and checking out different areas, and then I'll kind of try to dial it back in and figure out really where I'm really looking to settle in. What brought you out to Arizona? Like, why'd you leave Cali?
We were living in a home that was built in 1950, and it was worth a good amount more than what we paid. I had just had my daughter, so I know we needed more space. I think it was like 1,200 square feet we were living in. So we just had an opportunity. My wife works from home. I'm just the trophy husband. That's how my marriage works. So I do work, but so she was presented an opportunity to work remote during COVID. So we kind of just was like, well, what's keeping us here? Obviously we had family and stuff, but I think it was more so a decision for the family. And then everything else just kind of came second. I
mean, I know how expensive it is in that state, and then if you probably sold the place, had enough money, and then you probably bought a place that was considerably less, but a lot larger, correct? In Arizona,
but a lot further away from Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland, so.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of trip. Now, do you guys still trip in, like go in for the weekend, or like fly in or take the long ride in just to hit Knott's and do that each year, or are you not?
So my mecca has been Midsummer Scream every summer. I love going to that event. It's a lot of fun. I have yet to get out to like Midwestern's Haunter Convention or anything on that side. Even Trans World I haven't been to. I keep talking about it, but one of these years I'll pull the trigger there. But Midsummer's kind of always the one that I hit every August. I did get a chance to go to Disneyland like as a tourist, and that was a lot of fun. We stayed at the hotel room. It's something I'd never done before. But in terms of Not Scary Farm, I went last year. I'm kind of like going every other year, right? Because they don't change everything out every year. They'll have a couple of houses that stay, for 2-3 years. So
yeah, not enough changes over, so it's every other year is
sufficient. Yeah,
where you're getting a lot of new
I was there
stuff
last year because that was the 50th anniversary, so that was a big deal, and I definitely wanted to be there for that, especially because that event just means so much to me, and it's probably the reason I'm talking to you today.
Yeah, I always see everybody posting pictures about Knott's.
I'm pretty sure that's where it started, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I see like Tim and Jamie and a bunch of other.
Both of those men. I love both of them very much. So shout out to them.
Yeah, they're awesome, and I constantly seeing them post pictures of Knott's. So yeah, it's I'm jealous. I can always say, I got to get out there. It's just the hardest thing to do at that time of year, because I've got so much shit going on, and I'm still busy. I'm still busy at work, and I'm trying to get my own thing up and running and set up. And I've been trying to hit other haunts. I actually went down to Connecticut this year, so I hit a couple of haunts down to Connecticut opening weekend. I like to go just opening weekend, so that way you don't get the conga lines. Things aren't as crazy. Though they might not be 100%, they maybe not have worked out all the bugs. Though that's the thing on opening night.
But who cares? Like that's the fun of it, right? I like that. I like seeing that stuff.
Yeah, because I wouldn't know. I mean, like I don't know because I don't know what they had planned. So if there's something didn't work or wasn't working, it just like we always say on the show, people just won't know and won't care. Only only you care. Mm-hmm. Nobody else knows or cares. Yeah. So whatever you didn't get done and whatever's not working is oblivious to everybody but you. Let's open the door and get right into the Hull House there. What's the backstory of the haunt?
I guess I'll just pull up the website real quick. Because I forget. I forget
read
what
you wrote.
No, essentially it's an old funeral home that I haven't fully fleshed it out yet. Jamie actually was kind of helping me with it there for a minute, but essentially an old funeral home that just shut down at one point due to mysterious circumstances. Since then, it's been developed as a local kind of historical landmark. So that's why the bushes are still well kept. And again, this may not be fully fleshed out when you look at the pictures or whatever, but this is in my head what I have it as. It's just a local historical landmark, and every year around Halloween, weird occurrences happen. People disappear, this and that, and it's kind of it's just a local legend type of thing.
Who's Henry Hull?
I think that was. I should know more about this. I think that was Mr. Hull's son.
Am I throwing you curveballs here?
No, you're keeping me in check. I appreciate that, because like we said, nobody else cares about this stuff except for us, right? So that was Mr. Hull's son. So he had a son and a daughter that died mysteriously under mysterious circumstances, and so that is who Henry and Edith are.
Okay. I pulled this off your website. It says like Hull House is a family-friendly home haunt display located in Queen Creek, Arizona. You run nightly. You do fog and full effects every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if I feel like it, I guess no. It's so. This is what's funny is like because not in California, you're on that list. Like, yeah, people are going to come. They're going to expect it. So you're very you got it. You got to be there, and you got to do what you say you're going to do. Here, I typically do, but I had a problem with my fog machine this year where the pump broke. Luckily, I had an old one, and I was able to use that. But the fog in general was not as I didn't get to it as much as I wanted to, but the lighting for sure, obviously. And no one comes by, Chris. No, no. Granted, I don't promote it nearly as much as I want to. I got 2 kids, 10 and 5, so and a full-time job. So I mean, you know how it is. It's hard to.
I've got a couple of guys down the end of the street who are kind of getting into this. Now, are they building their own props or no? They're just, they just buy stuff. Like one guy kind of buys a bunch of stuff from Spirit. The other guy is buying a lot of stuff from Home Depot. So he's got, the 12-foot skelly, and he's got the big werewolf thing that came out this year or last year. And he's got a whole bunch of other, he's got a bunch of the skeletons. The guy across the street's got a mixture of like some Spirit Halloween animatronics that don't go out until like the night of because he doesn't have them waterproofed or anything. And he's got a couple of he's got some inflatables out there. But those guys are super into it now because they're like your typical newbie haunter who gets in and they're like fired up, reading they're not the builder type, but they still love it. And they're trying to get more and more people all the time. Now, when I started out, I had lucky if I had 20 kids showing up here, the neighborhood was dead. Now we've got 1,200, 1,500 people coming down the street on Halloween because there's nothing else going on around here. Like there's no, trick or treating is getting less and less. People aren't participating in it like they used to. True. So we're doing like we got fog machines going, and you got My Haunt, and the other 2 guys doing it. So we got a really cool street, and we got about half the people on the street who also participate in giving out candy. The others shut their lights off and pretend that they're not home. And we also have a couple of summer houses because this is kind of more of a summer area, summer community type of thing, or it used to be. And so we're attracting a lot of people. Now I'm kind of like, whoa, we got to put the brakes on this shit. The problem is so once you can't dial it back, once you can't, there's nothing you can do to stop people. The word gets out. People know it's a cool place. People are posting on frickin' Facebook and Instagram and, texting each other and TikToking and all the other shit that they're doing. So you can't keep it under wraps. And it's gotten to a point where I don't want it any busy. I want to drop back if I could cut out 500 people and drop it back to under 1,000, I would be a lot happier, because I like there to be a little break to set people up. I don't have anybody to do flow control, and I do try to get some scares in my driveway. So I do only small groups of people coming in so I can kind of get them. So it just makes that more difficult to pull off at some points in the night. I just have a conga line of kids in, and I'm just throwing candy in kids' bags, nonstop just to get them the hell out of there so I can hopefully get a little time to scare somebody else behind their group or whatever. It gets crazy. And that's the thing is once it gets to a point where it gets a little too busy for your neighborhood, and that's kind of where we're at. And I'd like to dial it back, but you can't. Once it's there's nothing I can do to stop it at this point, except unless I shut down for the year, which I'm not doing. That ain't happening. No,
I 100%. That's what I don't mind about the move because those years leading up to 2020 before I moved, it felt like work, So moving out here, it was cool. I got to reset. I got to kind of flesh out the backstory, which obviously I haven't fleshed out fully yet, but we'll get to that. And I got to just kind of focus on doing the reason I'm into this, which is just hanging out in my garage and making some cool spooky shit and sharing it with my friends. So. I don't care. Even when I moved into my first house and we had no trick or treaters, that's not what it was about. It was just about making creepy stuff, and I've always just enjoyed that. So
I would probably do what I'm doing if I had 20 people showing up at the house. I'd still be doing what I'm doing.
You're doing it for you.
Yeah, And, and then I can take all the pictures in video and post them online, and everybody gets, everybody can see them. And,
that Cthulhu looks great.
They can like them, and they can like them and make me feel good, make me feel special.
The Cthulhu looks fantastic. I'm sorry that the woodpecker got to it. I get such a kick out of such a kick out of your woodpecker stories.
Right in his face. That was brutal. So yeah, I had so the woodpeckers last year got my Woody. So now I have 2 tree props. Originally, I had the one. I call him Woody, and the things landed. This was like the day. I think it was November 1st because it made it through Halloween fairly unscathed. Usually they do land on its chin and peck him in the eye, but I recoated the eye with this habitat, the freeform air from Smooth On. So it's like more of a hard coating, and his whole skin. I recoated the entire thing with Habitat Black, which I would have done Habitat Flex because it's flexible and it doesn't crack. The Habitat Black will crack, so you can have some problems with it. Which it's easy to patch up, but then you got to do the paint job over in the air. It's whatever. But anyway, so they pecked a hole. They pecked his entire mouth out of his face. So it pecked it on November 1st of last year. So when I went to put him away, I'm like, shit. Pecked his whole fucking mouth out. So I ended up having to fix that this year. And then the things he pecked a hole in my haunt cast tombstone. I don't know if you remember Woodloom. They did they were like CNC, foam tombstones. So pick the design or the shape and send them a font and the epitaph.
No, I never heard of that.
Yeah, they used to be sponsors of the show years ago. Anyway, so I remember
Scary Lady Tara.
Okay, yeah. So these guys were around, and they made me the first of like the third time that Hotcast went off the air. They made me a tombstone. They made me this Hotcast tombstone that was just awesome. The CNC work on it was just phenomenal. It had the whole Scully, the old Hotcast logo with the Scully face and microphone. And for some reason, the woodpecker landed on it and packed 2 massive holes right in the face of the skull. There's no patching it up. Like I can't patch it up.
Was it hard coated?
Dry lock, so not anything harder than dry lock. Yeah. But they packed a hole right in his freaking face, and they've never bothered my tombstones ever. Obelisks, yes. My columns, yes. Like every year they're packing holes in the column. I got to take the foam. When I made my columns, I made the top and the bottom foam because I wanted to put like cracks in it and distress them and make it look like, just like the concrete and was like breaking off or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've replaced one of the tops with wood, and obviously they leave that one alone. They're woodpeckers. They leave the wood alone. They pack the shit out of the foam ones. So the obelisk column every year, the left one when you walk in, they always pack holes in that. And that's constantly always, I just take some hot glue and I take some Spanish moss, stick it in there, just cover it up and move on with my life. And it works because it looks good. It looks, it still looks, because the whole thing is now kind of almost covered with Spanish moss. But they also landed on my new tremendous creature, and they started pecking a hole in its chest. And I'm like, what the So the woodpeckers did some damage this year, and then they pecked a hole in Cthulhu's face. And I was like, son of a bitch. So every day I had to go out in the morning and cover it with like a tarp. And then every night when I get back, because they're only around during the day, they're not nocturnal. So like I'd come back at night, and once it gets dark, I would pull that off when the lights would come on. And so you basically really only could see Cthulhu at night because I had him covered every day to protect his face after I patched him up. And I was tired of because they were pecking the holes in the same point in the creature's chest. I had basically took a piece of burlap and tied it around him like a scarf just to block that area, and they left him alone after that. They didn't touch him. For some reason, they just wanted to peck that place in his chest. So when I covered that up, they left him alone. So every morning I had to go out there and cover shit up and then take it off at night. It's every day just to protect from the woodpeckers. The sons of bitches are brutal. They are brutal. Do you have anything out there that does damage to your stuff? Are there any, like, the Roadrunners leave you alone?
Yeah, there's no, no, in terms of creatures, no. It's just the sun, man. That's the one thing that I've realized about moving out here is I can't store anything like outside. If it's in a shed, it's fine, but the sun just ruins everything out. Even tarps. I bought like new tarps to cover some stuff up, and it's just the sun just like eats through them. It's wild. And most of like my tombstones I keep inside now. The grave digger guy or watchman, I guess it is. I will probably end up storing him inside because I don't know how the heat's going to deal with that, or the latex will deal with that heat.
Yeah, leaving things outside for me, like I say, I do try to cover everything up and leave nothing exposed out back just because, yeah. And I have the winter weather to deal with, which will
Yeah, luckily I don't have that. I don't have to deal with the moisture.
You have some absolutely gorgeous tombstones. Did you hand carve those, or do you have a CNC machine?
I do not have a CNC machine, and I wish I did, but I also frown upon. I like the handmade aspect of it.
Yeah,
I've got it down now to where I could do some intricate stuff, but no, it's just a Dremel.
Dude, that's impressive Dremel work.
You could thank Derek for that one because Derek over at Van Oaks, his videos on YouTube have been my source of information as far as those go, for sure.
Yeah, those are the epitaphs on those are really crazy. So you just you design them up yourself and then just print them out, put them on the tombstones, and then just Dremel away.
Yeah, so it's funny because I've with the previous ones I've done, I just printed out a font and then pasted it onto the foam and then carved that out. With these ones, I definitely spent more time in Photoshop, I think, than I did actually like carving them out because I wanted everything to look nice. So I would say 30% of the work was done in Photoshop, and then you start working on the tombstone.
So what's your coating, painting, and distressing process? What are you coating them with?
It's dry lock.
Okay.
I haven't done any hard coating. Those brick pillars that I did this year, I was going to try to do. I think Chris and Gina from Hollywood Haunter talk about it, but it's Flex Bond. Have you heard of that? That thin set mortar.
Yeah.
So I tried that and I didn't like it, so I just ended up sticking with dry lock. Yeah, you can't go wrong with dry lock. It's got that texture. If you paint it right, it's got the texture, and it just holds up really well with the foam.
Yeah, there is a little bit of technique to it. You can't, I find a lot of times I have to you can kind of try to paint it on like a regular paint, but you've got to kind of dab it on.
You have to dab it. I dabbed that whole tombstone.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just slapping the thing. You're slapping the face with the paintbrush for the entire thing. Yeah. Especially when you get closer to the letters, that's where you have to be a little bit more because you don't want you don't want it to get into the cracks because then it will clog it up and then your letters and your detail won't come through. So you got to be, you're just slapping the sucker all over, and then you're doing just the typical, hitting it with like the watered down black, watered down browns, that type of thing.
Which to me, that seems to be the hardest part. So I'll start with obviously in Photoshop, and then I'll get the shape with the foam. I did bases on the ones that I have now, which aren't I wouldn't recommend if you want to store them flat. They're a little hard to store when you start adding those bases to them. So once I do that, I print out the epitaph or whatever it may be, and I carve that. And then the big thing, it really makes a big difference, is caulking all those lines, like all the seams and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because the foam naturally has those kind of cut marks or the snap off marks or whatever. Mm-hmm. Once you get rid of those and then you paint, it looks like a nice finished piece.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I struggle. I tend to struggle with like the tea staining, I think, as it's referred to. And two, it's really hard because I'm working on these most of the time in July or August, and it's 110 outside. So your paint just dries.
When you're using the spray bottle, it's probably evaporating as it's coming out of the tip because of the way it's so hot there. It's just like, it's not even.
Yes. That and the water, we have a lot of calcium in our water. I've noticed that I'll notice like white. There'll be like white coming out in the paint, and I'm like, the only thing I could think of here is the fact that our water has so much calcium that it's building up on the like when I'm doing the paint job. It's very odd.
You have to like get the distilled water or distill your own water.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah.
This is probably something you never need. I have a dehumidifier in my basement that I have to dump every day. Like I have one of those basements that just gets super humid. So I got to keep that dehumidifier going constantly and just constantly keep dumping it. So that's pretty much almost distilled water. You know, it's pulling it right out of the air. So it's pretty clean. So I do use that a lot, to fill up my spray bottles with instead of using, you know, the hard water out of the tap.
That's good. Recycle it.
Yeah, there you go. I was going through your whole IG account, and I knew this is one of the things that I think originally caught my eye is that you have like kind of almost a whole like front of your house is covered in jack-o'-lanterns. All like you have like a couple of rows of them across. I think each side. Do you not? You used to have them on the roof.
Yeah, but that was the old house. Yeah, now I have tile, and I don't want to get up there.
Yeah, that would be a little bit complicated. Are they the standard like Joanne, Michael, whatever, you know, Funkin, or the imitation Funkin like foam pumpkins, and or you have a place that you got those?
So I think I started collecting those in 2014, and you're absolutely right. It's a mixture of Michael's, Joanne's, Hobby Lobby. There's some actual Funkins in there, I'm sure, but it's just a variety. I did spend a lot of time last year, because this is one thing that always bugged me, was that the paint was all over the place. They all look different. So I took the time to retexture them, repaint them, which nobody cares about because you put it under haunt lighting and, you know, you can't tell the difference. So.
What kind of texture? How did you do the texture on those?
Derek from Van Oaks, he's got a great tutorial on it. It's just wall texture. It's not going to stand out. Like, so if you hit it up against something, it'll probably rub off a little bit, but you got to be real careful with them. Yeah, it's just that orange peel texture.
The ones that I have on my tree, I did over a number of years, and I did the cotton ball and latex technique.
Yeah, I didn't want to spend that much time. That was way too much.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to do. Now I love the way they look, and I get tons of compliments on them, and a lot of times people will always ask me like, "What did you do? How'd you do that?" And I'll say, you know, just try to explain the cotton ball technique is a little bit hard to, because once people are like, cotton balls, what do you mean cotton balls? It doesn't look bumpy like cotton balls. And I'm like, yeah, you got to like unravel it. And then it is a little bit hard to put on. You got to put like a layer of latex, then you got to put it on, then you got to kind of brush it one way, brush it another way. Like you got to keep brushing it up and down. Like it's weird. You like brush one side, brush the other side, because it starts pulling it down in one direction or up in the other direction. So you got to kind of like get really heavy with the latex, and like the latex does break down though. Although on those props, because it's supposed to be like decayed, gooey pumpkin skin, it doesn't matter that the latex breaks down, because it kind of makes it look a little bit better as it starts to decay. I'll just one thing I've realized, and that I'm tearing it off of a couple of other props that I had done, is that I put liquid latex. Like I made this. It was already weatherproof. I don't know why I decided. I thought it would look more skin-like if I put like a layer of liquid latex, but I made this my maggot prop, and the thing was coated with smooth-on freeform air. So that is friggin' weatherproof. You don't have to put a coating on it. It's good to go. Put some paint on it, you're done. But I coated the thing. So each year it started, the latex skin started cracking, and then it started looking really shitty.
Yeah.
And then finally this year I broke down and I poured a bunch of paint stripper on it, and I just stripped off all of the freaking latex off of it, and then just hit it with a little stain, and it's never looked better. I'm like, why did I go through that trouble of putting latex on there?
Yeah.
Stupidest thing. I never would go back and do that again. And I'm not sure I'd go and do those pumpkins that way again either. If I had to go back and if they were all destroyed, I probably would do maybe like the technique that you and Derek use, or something that's a little bit quicker, where I could do a dozen of them in one shot and not have to spend an hour or so, or a couple hours per pumpkin to do the latex thing.
I think I had 40 of them, so I was like,
holy shit! Oh yeah,
it was one of the rare. It was like one of the rare props where I actually asked family to help. And my sister, God bless her, she was drunk as a skunk and ended up creating more work for me. So I learned my lesson there in terms, because I'm very particular with how I want things. So.
We all are. I almost never would ask my kids to help me out, because usually they.
I don't ask. Yeah, I don't.
I know exactly how I want something, and nobody's doing it.
100%.
Nobody's going to do it like I'm going to do it. So I just
exactly.
I know that just makes us insane. I know we're just friggin' insane.
Well, no, it's our thing, and that's why, again, touching back on moving out here, like I never really asked for help with the haunt back in California, even though I definitely could have used it. I did have some friends that would help me out a little bit, but here it's very much my own thing. I try to keep it to a point where I'm in, I can do everything for it. So
yeah. Okay, so I was going to ask you that too, is like how many accomplices you have that are involved in each year. You probably lost some of the people that you had, a few years ago after you moved. Are you now are you on Halloween night the only one out there? Are you dressing up? Like what happens on Halloween night?
Halloween night, it's just the whole family comes over, but I'm the only one in the family that really truly cares about Halloween. I guess I could say my number one accomplice is my wife, because she watches the kids, and they let me go in the garage and do what I need to do. In terms of Halloween night, we really just hand out candy. I want to get more into the pneumatics, just so I can sit back there and press some buttons and really have a lot of fun with scaring kids and stuff. And that's definitely on the list for future years, but I just haven't got there yet.
Yeah, I've got to post a video. I don't know which video I took. I meant to take pictures of a few of what I do on Halloween night. And I actually, you know what? I know I didn't friggin' do this. It was at the last minute I was going to do it. And now I'm thinking about going, shit, I forgot to do that. Cause I had everything set up, like all my remotes that were like hot glued onto the armrests of this throne that I kind of built out of an old coffee table. Yeah. So on one side, I had all 6 buttons for this Puppet Master, or the Minion sound system from VFX Creates, that had all these like pre-programmed growls and lines and shit. And then I had on the other side, I had like the air cannon, the upshot fogger, and the coffin thing all on remote. So I'd just hit the button, for the air cannon, or hit the button, and the coffin started rattling. And I meant to kind of do a little tutorial on that, and I completely freaking blow it. So that's another thing for next year, or unless I want to pull shit out during the winter and try to hook some things up and try to explain it, which is probably too late for that. So, but yeah, it's fun. And in a sense, you can, like, what I do is I'm out in the driveway in this throne. So I'm luring them to come into the driveway. I got signs saying candy this way. So they have to come up to get it from me. And then I'm like firing off shit as they're coming closer. So
that's exactly what I want.
It's not a full walkthrough, but it gives you a great experience, and you still kind of, the Wizard of Oz hitting the buttons you're not even behind the curtain, which is the great thing, because you're out there in costume, so you can still like hit fire a few things off, get a few cool startles, get a startle yourself, give out some candy. You still get the interaction. Yeah, you should dabble into it. The pneumatics are not scary at all, and the only thing is that they're just kind of like, you just have to, you set them up several nights in advance, and you make sure everything's tested out and ready to go for the big night. I don't care every year something goes wrong with my pneumatics. This year, what I have happened this year. Oh, I had them both plugged in. I had one of them plugged into a outlet that I didn't realize was on the same circuit as the other one, and I had 2 compressors going, and they blew the fuse about an hour or something into the night, and I couldn't leave. It was too busy. I couldn't go inside to even to turn the thing back on. So for about an hour and a half of the night, I had 4 pneumatic props that went down, and then at the tail end of the night, I got them back up again. So, that's one thing you gotta, make sure you plug your compressor into a high amp outlet or have one installed in your house so that you do not have to worry about that. Because that was one thing that I'm going to have an electrician friend of mine, the guy who's on the other end of the street, who's buying all the Home Depot stuff. He's an electrician. So I was talking to him. He goes, I'm going to come down.
That's good. That's a good friend to have.
Yeah. He goes, I'm going to come down and put a high amp, outlet in there for you, and we'll square you away for next year. And I'm like, good, because that's one of the things that's like, there's always something that goes wrong. I had one 2 years ago, one of my compressors died on me the night on Halloween night. I'm like, what? I'm like, that was my newer compressor. I've got 2 decent, they're both Huskies, but they're good. They're good compressors. They do the job. Anyway, let's see. The facade that you put on your house, right? I'm actually thinking about doing a different type of facade on my driveway. So it's great that I'm talking to you right now. So, explain, the facade that you kind of overlay the entire, front of your house with.
Yeah, I'm big about just creating kind of a world. And I always had it in my head that if you're not going to use your house, for my house now, it's just so big that I have to incorporate it into what the front of the house looks like. With the Boynton Park house, it was no, I want to build a facade and then essentially cover it. And I think that stems back. I think I saw a haunted house when I was in 5th or 6th grade. And from what I had heard at that time, the guy he was an Imagineer or something. And essentially he just kind of walled everything off, and you were forced to focus on this facade, and it looked fantastic. And then from that point, you could do whatever you wanted to. So in that case, I had the black walls onto the side, and then the facade in the front. A little background on me: I don't know anything about carpentry. My father was a butcher, a union butcher for 30 years. To this day, he still does not even know how to work a drill. So anything that I've learned has been from YouTube and just talking with friends or whatever. So quite frankly, that whole facade is thanks to Chris and Gina over at Hollywood Haunter, because they have plenty of great videos on studio flats and that giant facade they did back in 2015, 2014, maybe, I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that one? That was insane.
Was that Grave Rot Gulch, or was that a?
It was the one after that, the one that they were on TV for. I think it was just a giant haunted house.
Yeah,
so it's very much so inspired by that too, because they had the black walls around, just kind of encapsulating everything. So you have black walls that kind of just hide that, the right and left side. Hide the house, and then you have the facade in the middle that that draws everybody's. It's lit, so it draws everybody's attention. So that whole thing was just. It was just a giant experiment for me to see if I could even do it, and I was pleasantly surprised by it because it looked good. I knew it had to be light, so all the lines painted on that they're all painted. It's not actual shiplap. And then I knew I wanted it to be big, but I wasn't confident enough that I could do a second story. So I essentially just came up with the idea to have the second story look like it was a burning down house. So that's kind of where that came from. Because I didn't know how to make a second story.
You go up that high and the wind and whatever. No, that would probably be a nightmare. So yeah, it looks cool. You kind of cut it out. It's like it's all burnt and charred. So the top of the house had burnt up and almost broke. Just pretty much just got burnt away. And then you do now how do you attach that to the house, or do you even does it stand, is it freestanding, or do you have to attach it onto the house?
Yeah, every year in California, I remember it would be October 20th or whatever, and there would be a series of posts from everybody out there complaining about how the wind would knock down all this stuff, and so I learned very quickly that I wasn't going to let that happen. And every year, everyone seems to act surprised by it. So that is attached directly to the house, and we had some real substantial winds the 2 years that I had that up, and it was never affected by it. So just brackets attaching to the top and then to the sides, and that thing didn't move at all.
It's basically, are you using 2x3s or 2x4s for the framing of the wall?
It is one by threes.
Oh, okay. So they're 1x3s, and are you using like Luan, like the subflooring?
Underlayment.
Yep.
Yeah, the underlayment,
the really like 1/4 inch subflooring. And then, and that's pretty much it. And you're using a lot of I noticed that you have, a lot of different cross sections so that it's a lot more sturdy. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly.
And then the way I anchored it was just brackets down into the concrete, and then I had just drilled into the concrete. Perks of owning your own home, I guess. Straight into the concrete with an L bracket there. That it was in a position where it was kind of behind a garden bed, so I could leave it up year round, and no one would bat an eye.
Yeah, I have my driveway is it could definitely use to be done over, so I don't really care too much. I really don't do any. I've been doing this facade where I've been putting out these Home Depot buckets half filled with Quikrete with PVC posts in it. It does work. I mean, I've been doing this for years now. This year, though, this was the 1 year I thought, and I said, you know what? Maybe next year I actually build like a facade and like actually build with the walls. And so that way I can kind of set it up. It would be an easier setup and an easier takedown. I don't have to I use 100 zip ties to zip tie the tarps on, and then zip tie the camo netting on, and then zip tie, the erosion fabric on, and do all that shit. And then,
what do you have planned for that facade? Do you have an idea in mind?
I have roughly I was thinking, because I'm trying to go into this like Lovecraftian, leaning into the like Lovecraft Shadow over Innsmouth theme. Are you familiar with the story? Have you ever read that? The Shadow over Innsmouth?
No. Most of that stuff, I think it's Lovecraft, but it's hard. It's a hard read, some of it.
Okay, well, Cthulhu, Cthulhu is, from the Call of Cthulhu, Lovecraft. This is like another part of I think it's still considered to be within the Cthulhu myth. Yeah, it's definitely considered to be part of the Cthulhu mythos, which is a whole series of stories that not only did Lovecraft write, but other people, other friends, and people who are inspired by him have kind of kept the mythos going, and people have written other stories that are considered to be within that mythos. Anyway, so the Shadow of Innsmouth is just this kind of a cool. It's this decrepit old town in Massachusetts. It's a seaport town. And it's basically been corrupted by these, by the deep one fish creatures who have started interbreeding, like making deals and giving them, gold if they could interbreed with them. And it's like this whole kind of conspiracy thing of, so it's got these like hybrid fish frog and humanoid creatures that, so I'm like, that would be so great to work into my haunt. And, I was at Transworld a few years ago, and this company, damn, they're out of Portland, and I can't remember the company. Anyway, they made this drowned fish god. No, they made a drowned fish god, and then they made this other hybrid human fish creature that had this fisherman outfit on, and I was like, so stealing that. I'm so stealing that. I did a much different take from their Cthulhu. I didn't try to copy that. And I just used the idea of what they did. I didn't try to copy what their creature was like, but I just kind of did my own. But now I'm like, oh, I really love this. I love this kind of angle here, and I can work in like a Dagon, which is another monster from the Cthulhu mythos. He's like a king of the deep ones, the underwater creatures. So it just works well because I'm in a peninsula. I'm basically am a sea town. So I think I'm gonna try to make. So either like a dock kind of setup looking thing, and I've been wanting to do the laser fog, the laser swamp for years, and I need an enclosed area to do that in, and so I was thinking, well, if I do a facade, I can make it so it has, it's all walled off, and then I can have maybe do like a laser swamp inside of it, and that way I could, kind of use that effect. But I don't know. It's either going to be like the Gilman House Hotel, which is the hotel in the story, or it's going to be just like the dock pier, the Marsh refinery, which is also part of the story. So I'm thinking of kind of going maybe that direction where it's going to be more like a dock kind of looking thing with like some, shanty, like a shanty little town or something. You know what I mean? Like
or something.
Yeah, like a little wharf shanty like house or something in there, and then I could, do my shenanigans out of that.
Yeah, I love that you're keeping it, kind of New England based. When I moved out here, it's very much the Wild West. So I've tried to incorporate that a little bit. I tried making a wooden tombstone last year. Didn't turn out really as good as I thought it would be, but I definitely want to lean more into, obviously the geography around here.
Yeah, if you could pull stuff from the local legend,
exactly,
or anything like that, it's always really cool to kind of pull in. For years, I'd just been doing I think my old backstory was Dr. Wolfram was a mad genetic engineer, started splicing, human DNA with plants, animals, insects, that was my theme for years. And it has kind of run its course. The bulk of my haunt with all the creatures, that's kind of what it kind of is. But there's also some other things that so now I'm trying to lean in one section of my haunt is, just your standard Gothic cemetery, and then you have my Innsmouth Cthulhu mythos kind of section of the haunt. So it does have kind of like some different sections to it. I have enough of a front yard where it can go from it's like from scene to scene to scene kind of a thing.
Yeah, I want to do that with one side. Obviously, I'll always have a graveyard, but kind of one side more of a pumpkin patch type. I've always wanted to make a really cool scarecrow. So that'd be cool to have like a pumpkin patch type, and I have so many pumpkins, so that would lend itself well to that.
Now, do you have enough front yardage that you can utilize? How much do you have to work with?
It's very small. And I do have a side of the house that I haven't touched yet, but we actually might be moving a mile down the road here in the next year. So
oh, really?
Yeah, if that ends up panning out the way that it hopefully does, then I'll have a much bigger front yard and a 4-car garage. So that'll be great.
Were you looking at it with a haunter's eye? You're looking at it going, oh yeah, I could see what I could do right here in the front. No 4-car garage. Oh my God, what I could do with a 4-car garage.
In 2014, when I was looking for my first house, we definitely wanted to be, because when I grew up, I didn't grow up in like a Halloween neighborhood. So I always knew those neighborhoods that were definitely Halloween heavy. So when I bought my first house, I remember as we were looking during Halloween time. So I was like, okay, well, what neighborhoods are cool? In this case, I'm just looking for a house that doesn't have a street light right in front of it. Because that's how my house is right now. And it's not the worst thing ever, but if you look at my pictures, you can see how much color there is there. And that's really you have to drown out that light with the greens really help. But if I don't have a street light in front of the house, I'll be happy. Obviously a bigger garage would be fantastic, because then we could park in the garage, and then yes, I could have my whole house studio in there.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have a garage too. My bedroom was a garage at one point, but I think soon after somebody bought them, after this house was built, they changed it over into a bedroom. So yeah, I don't have a garage, so I have to work out of my basement, which it's doable. I make it work for me, but it would be a lot better if I was like, man, plus I would have done a little walkthrough in the garage. It would have been so much easier to do like something in the garage instead of trying to set things up in my driveway like I've done over the years.
Yeah, that's like, I really want to do that. Wicker Manor, Sean at Wicker Manor, he's in Colorado, but he does such a little haunted house in a 2-car garage, and he packs so much detail into that. It's amazing. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, you add, it's like a couple of twists and turns in there. It feels bigger. It seems like it's a lot bigger than it is. But yeah, I've seen people do pretty amazing things with just one-car garage setups, and it's pretty cool.
It's amazing if you do it right, and you can really do something cool. It doesn't matter how small it is.
Yeah, I'm not even looking to get back into doing a walkthrough anymore. I'm kind of okay with that. I did it for a number of years, and I'm good, but I would like to set up something cool within it and be able to utilize it as part of the hunt instead of having to try to do things in the driveway, which would make my life easier. So looking at a couple of the other props you have the love that coffin. You're like your coffin skeleton dude. What's the build on that?
That was my first experience with Spider Hill Prop Works. So the frame of those is
love them.
Yeah, I know. I loved that interview. That interview you had was fantastic. I loved hearing kind of more the business side of it. I thought that was really, really interesting. But that was the first. All the frame was Spider Hill, and then the head was Nightmare Makers, and then I finished it, which was just latex and cotton, and then some stain, which is the first time I've really used the latex and cotton thing. So it was cool to kind of get my hands wet with that. And then I just bought the robe and kind of stuck them in there. The hands, I think, were from Spirit Halloween. And then I obviously did the same technique that I did to the head to make sure that they matched. Overall, very simple prop.
Yeah.
The coffin was harder to do because I sucked with carpentry.
That's a pure wood coffin. Are those pallets that you've used or something or other wood?
No, it's all plywood and they're heavy
plywood.
as hell.
Yeah, plywood is amazingly strong and heavy.
I would have done them differently now, but they look good and I don't want to give them up. So
yeah, no, they're sharp. I've built like 3 different coffins out of pallets, different sized coffins. I have like a small one, the one that I had kind of my first one that I did. I think I built it completely out of plywood, and I used like mahogany stain. It just looked fucking awful. It was just terrible. It was like my first year or second year of doing it. And then I ended up just basically, just drilling and just screwing pallet wood on top of it. So I just like basically covered the whole. It already had the frame, and I just built the whole thing up. It made it, look like a full pallet coffin. Then I have a couple others that I built just straight out of pallets. And they look great because the wood, plus the pallets usually get so beat up and so weathered already that by the time you get them, there's not a lot of work you have to do to like distress them up. There's not a lot usually. It makes most of your job is done for you, and then or just leave it out in your backyard for a number of months and let the weather just do its toll on it too. But
yeah, those ones I painted. I ended up painting them.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the ones that I did, I painted, and then I used a technique where essentially you just dip a piece of like a block of wood into the paint, and then you kind of just run it down, and it gives it that real like distressed look.
Oh, that's cool.
And then if you
I don't think I've ever seen that. I've never tried that before.
Yeah.
I've done like the gel technique. You know what I'm talking about? And then you buy the little. It's like a little roller type thing, and it's got the wood grain looking thing in it, and you have run it over it. And I did my Village Meyer sign like that, and it looks great. I haven't done anything beyond that. I've just done that one sign, and I tried it out because I just never tried it. Let me try it with the new sign. And I was like, wow, I love this. I just haven't revisited. I need to revisit it on the throne that I have. I need to give that throne a better paint job and make it look more like rotted wood or something like that. It was painted mint green. So I power washed it in to try to get as much of the paint off, but I've could only get so much off of it. Now it's like needs a paint job. I want to cover the whole thing with like sticks and shit too, and make it look like more like a forest throne thing. But yeah. Once again, I keep saying I'm going to do that each year, and I just don't. That's the last thing on my list, and I just don't get to it. I'm just like, maybe next year we'll get to that.
It's always next year.
Where'd you purchase the head for? Yeah, there's always next year. Where did you purchase the head and the hands for your caretaker?
That is Dapper Cadaver.
Okay.
There's plenty of Watchmen out there, and they all use the head and hands from Ghost Ride Productions. Even the Spider, because that's also the Spider Hill kit, the Watchmen kit.
Oh yeah,
it's funny because like I'm doing all these props now that I wish I knew about, or I wish I could have done back in 2012, 2001 when I first found out about the monster list of Halloween projects. I'm sure you know about that.
The monster list. Then there was the Haunt Project, or I think it was, wasn't it? There was two. There was another site that was like, I think it was the Haunt Project. There was the original, like, yeah, the monster list, filled with shit that you could eat that will easily kill you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But like, you have to be very I remember, yeah, you have to be very discriminating on the you know, you have to look at things and you can get ideas, but don't follow things step by step, especially when they're making like pneumatic cylinders and pistons and shit out of PVC. It's like, oh god, no. The only thing I did do something similar to that is I did do a bike pump. Like Trash Can Trauma, and it was built with a Huffy bike pump. It did work.
Nice.
Once again, it did work for a number of years, and the action on it was amazing. I have had, DC props, heavy duty lifter barrel, like pop up barrel trauma, like Trash Can Trauma type of thing. Nothing was as good as that stupid Huffy bike pump. It got such great reaction out of people. It was amazing. Yeah, I've got, so anyway.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get or finish, I guess, a bunch of those like early projects when I was a kid. I was in 7th grade looking at that list, and I just didn't have the ability to make any of that stuff. So, it's fun to like revisit them now as an adult. But Watchmen, that's one thing that I just always wanted. Right. And I didn't want to pay, what is it, like $3,000 to have somebody make it. So I bought the Spider Hill prop works. They have the Watchmen kit, and I knew obviously it needed a good head. The problem that I faced with that was the head that is mostly used with that, even, and I don't know her name, but whoever runs the Davis Graveyard, they have a similar one. And she also used a Ghost Ride head and hands. The hands is the problem because the hands, Ghost Ride doesn't make those hands anymore, so I had to get creative with it. And I found a hand that's can hold a shovel from Dapper Cadaver, so that's what I ended up using. I had to kind of mess with it a little bit to get it to hold a lantern. So if you look closely, it does look a little odd. But the head and the hands are from Dapper Cadaver. The frame is from Spider Hill Prop Works, and the rest of it is pool noodles and clothes from the Goodwill.
Nice. Yeah, I guess I do. I never thought about it. I'm like, I do have a watch, or they're more like grave robbers, I think I call them. They're like, I have 2 Bucky skeletons that are out in the cemetery, and they're both holding lanterns. They're really, the lantern looks like it's hanging off their fingers pretty much. It's like they're not fully grasping them, but it sells it. It's good enough.
Yeah.
And those have been I guess those are kind of my Watchmen. Like Buckies are
they actual Bucky?
Yeah, the full Buckies. I got them I have those big those fence spikes behind them, and they're like cable tied onto them so they can stand upright. And you can't really even see the post behind them at all. And they one of them holds a shovel in one hand, and they both hold. I have a flame bulb in a rusty looking lantern, like an old style lantern, that I think I got from one of the local dollar places or whatever. And I had 2 of those, and I wired it up with an actual one of those cool flame bulbs inside of them, so it's super bright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I did as well.
I rewired those a couple of years ago because I was just never happy with the LED or the internal. I had like the incandescent bulb in there at first. I think I just spray painted it orange. It wasn't even like an orange bulb. I think I spray painted it and then swapped it out for some LEDs. And I'm like, it's not bright enough. And then ended up going with the flame bulb. Looks kick ass. So like, would you guys do anything, like special Halloween night, other than just like giving out candy, or anything else happen on the night?
I am blessed, with a wife who has a birthday on November 1st. So, usually my late Halloween night is me just kind of getting stuff, putting up birthday banners and stuff. I would say my Halloween night tradition is watching Halloween 2. So I do that after all the trick or treaters have come and gone.
Are you out in costume? Are you like running dialogue, trying to get scares or doing anything like that?
Yeah, no, I don't get that much into it. I don't know. I that's why I want the pneumatics, so I could just sit back there and just press a couple buttons, and until I get my screen accurate Michael Myers costume. That's my plan. So I do want to dress up as Michael Myers. I just haven't. I'm not going to do it unless it's 100% screen accurate.
Yeah,
and I haven't made it yet, so that's my problem. But the kids are out there. The whole family comes over. There's a bonfire. We definitely make it a whole thing. But since we moved, there's no one's really out there scaring, and there's just a lot of young kids by where we're at too. So I don't know how well that would even go over.
Yeah, I mean, I do take it easy on the youngsters. Like, I don't have to, like I'll give out the candy and I'm not hitting the scream effect. Like the monster,
right,
the monster growl in their face. This thing, that VFX thing is so loud. It's crazy. Like you can dial the volume in, but even halfway, the thing is so super loud, louder than you need it to. It's like scaring the shit out of people. I got great reactions with that. I get great reaction with that every year. This year, I put a couple of different effects in there. I had one that I recorded myself with a really deep, dark voice, and it when they would get closer to me and they were wondering whether is he real? Is they didn't know what I was. Well, I had this cool pumpkin pulp tree wood mask on, and then I had just a ghillie suit on, so I was like a tree, kind of another one of my tree creatures,
Yeah.
And then people come up and they're wondering how I'm sitting in the throne, and they're looking at me going does he have candy? What do we do? Or they kind of, they're timid because they know I'm going to do something, and then I'd hit the button and it would say, "Come hither if you want a treat." So I wouldn't say anything all night long. I just had a couple of pre-programmed things, or I'd have the breathing effect that would loop over and over again. It would be like, so you could hear me breathe like this monster breathing, and then after I scared the shit out of it, I'd hit the growl effect and jump up a little bit and get a star out of him. I'd hit the other button and it would go, "Happy Halloween." And then people would burst out laughing because it was like they got a little scared, they weren't sure. But when the little kids would come up, I would just give them the candy and go, "Happy Halloween," and then the parents would laugh. It didn't scare the kids, and then they could leave. So I would take it easy on the youngsters, and then anybody who was 8 or over, I was like, no, you're getting it. Yeah, you come up here, you know what you came here for.
Yeah, that's what I want. I just want something kind of easy, not a lot of action needed on my part to make it scary. So if I could just walk around with Michael Myers, plus my kids are again 5 and 10, so I always felt bad when the haunt was bigger, because it's we'll go do a quick lap of trick or treating, and then Dad's got to come home and run the haunt. I do enjoy now being able to just kind of walk around the neighborhood with them and enjoy the holiday as we're all supposed to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because that goes by fast, like it did with Mike. Well,
but even then, I'm like, can we pick this up? I got to get back over there. I got to make sure the fogger's good.
When my kids were at that age where they were just young teens when I started doing this again back in 2007, 8, 2007, and they were, because I was divorced, they would have Halloween with me and then Halloween with her, so they were with me that on 2006, and I'm like, next year I'm doing a haunt. 2007, they were with their mother. I started doing a haunt here, and it was very small. A trash, I say, you could never go wrong with a trash can trauma. Never go wrong with one of those. It's a great introductory pneumatic prop that gets amazing startles out of people, and you'll have a freaking blast with it. Like I say, it's just incredible. I used it many years. I gave that one away, and then I bought another heavy duty one from Brant and got this Ghost Ride torso thing on top of it, and it doesn't have that same hunch that other one had, you know. Well, the other one did also had a closed lid on it. This one, the new one, the one that I have, I've been using it for years. It's like the heavy duty, like pro grade one. It doesn't have the lid on it. It's in like a barrel. It looks like a toxic barrel, and it still doesn't like stick out at you. And it does get some startles here and there, but the older trash can trauma in like the plastic Rubbermaid garbage can with the lid on it, bungee tied down, so when it popped up, the bungee would pull it back down again. Tell you, it worked amazing for so many years. But anything like that, like anything like a box that the lid can pop out of like that, is a great.
Or the monster in the box.
Yeah, but even one that just like pops up, like kind of like a trash can trauma with just like the lids on hinges. So, you know, if it looks like a table or just a box, like a crate, and then the piston pops up and knocks the lid up so the head sticks out of it, you know. Anything like those are always a guaranteed great startle scare, especially, you know, just really good intermediate as far as a pneumatic prop. It's like one piston, so it's really not complicated. You know, there's not much you have to program. You press the button, the sound goes off, the thing pops up, and then it pops back down again and closes up again. You know, like
nice and easy
for a simple pneumatic prop, for, you know, getting into it, you can never go wrong with those. Those are fantastic. What do you have planned for 2025?
Let me think. You know, I don't know. Again, like we may be moving. I wanted to do a floating candelabra. I was going to take down the pumpkin wall. If you see where the pumpkin wall is, there's a porch behind there. What I wanted to do was essentially the funeral scene from the Haunted Mansion, where you have the casket. There's obviously somebody trying to get out of that casket. And then I thought about above that, we have a floating candelabra. I can't seem to find how to do that. There's a few people who have posted videos of it on YouTube. Not too in depth. I don't think it's too crazy. I just don't know if I can make it work within the space that I'm trying to get it done in. That was one thing I wanted to do. I bought one of those. I don't use a lot of store-bought stuff, and if I do, it's heavily modified. I bought one of those Home Depot caskets that they were selling a couple years ago. I don't know if you're familiar with the hopes of redoing it and making it, you know, look a little more realistic, I guess. That's currently sitting in my garage. I again, if we're gonna move, I don't really know. I'll have to, you know.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's a little, because you might have a lot more room to work with and be able to do more. So until it's finalized, I guess you'll have to keep that on the, you know, you have to sit back. If you were to do, like I say, so that's, if you were to do anything, that would be the number one thing that would be on your list, would be the floating candelabra.
Yeah, that, and then what I don't really show pictures of for my house is there's windows above kind of where the graveyard is. I would love to do like a scene up in those windows, have something even triggerable would be really cool, where you're in the graveyard, you're standing, or you're standing outside of the graveyard next to the fence. You press a little button, and then all of a sudden that makes a scene go off, and then you see a figure in this window, and then it moves over to the next one. You know, something really cool like that. I am not nearly capable of doing anything like that, but that's kind of what I would love to do if we are to stay here.
Now you have the basically the way it's set up, like your facade, you have the two windows, and it looks like there's flames, like it's on fire. It pretty much, is that the effect? Like in both windows, it's got like a flame effect.
Are you looking at the old facade? Because I don't have that one anymore.
Oh, okay. I guess I was looking at pictures of an old one. Okay, so that was one from your Cali house?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That one's long gone, unfortunate. It's still in good hands. It's still what's in the family. I think it's over with Jamie over at Sawin's lot. He's using it in one capacity or another, but for now, it's I just have that little graveyard section, and I would like to utilize more of the front of the house if we are to stay here. I mean, I have kind of a roof above, a little gable above the graveyard. I'd like to put some pumpkins up there, but again, I just get sketched out because it's tile. It's not like the old house where I can walk on that roof all day. This I would be afraid to crack a tile, you know.
Yeah. All right. As we start.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I just want to say I really appreciate you coming back, man. Like when I first I've always like been into haunting, and I didn't discover you, I think, until about like 2014. And I don't know, I think you took a break right around then. And then you're not on Instagram, so I was always bugging Johnny, and he's probably like, who the hell is this guy? Always cracking jokes and shit. So I just it's absolutely great to have you back, man. I'm glad you cut up all that old stuff and put it up there. It's been a real treat, especially all those old Theater of the Minds. And there's Rev's voice, he might as well do some ASMR at this point, because his voice just gets me.
Yeah, that took me a while to go through and cut out. Some of this I didn't ever store all the files like individually. I didn't organize them. Like a lot of stuff I actually lost a lot of the full shows. I don't know how. I uploaded a ton of stuff to Dropbox, and I went and I checked in on it, and all the files had gotten like corrupted or something, and then none of them were playable. And I'm like, God damn. And I was like, I had to go out and search out, and I was put out like a cast, like, hey guys, anybody have any of the old shows? And then people started popping up and going, yeah, I've got about like the first 36 of them, and I got this and that. So I was able to then get some, piece them together. I was missing a couple of Shelley's old segments. I got her to send me some. So yeah, it took me a lot of work to kind of get all those together and compile them and put them out there. So if you are listening and you're still holding on after an hour deep into this conversation, all the episodes are available out there on every podcast platform imaginable, and it was almost every segment from every show we had ever done, all the way back to 2009. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm saying no worries, man. I'm glad to be back. I missed it. I took a number of years off. I missed it. Got other stuff out of my way that I needed to get out of my way. And unfortunately, like, podcast has become such a big part, and I've had people tell me this too, become such a big part of my Halloween. It has become such a big part of what motivates me to keep building and doing stuff for my haunt and wanting to push myself. So I have things to talk about. And so, I realized that without it, something was missing. Halloween was not right when I wasn't doing the show. And now that I'm back doing it again, once again, I'm more motivated. I'm building so much more, putting out more stuff, getting a little bit more creative, trying different products that I haven't tried. And
doing it on your own terms too, like doing what works for you.
Yeah. No, that's why no ads, no sponsors, no crowdfunding, no nothing. I'm doing this purely because I want to do it and I have fun. And that's it. Cause all that other nonsense just takes my time up. It wastes my time. I do try to promote the show. I should be a little bit better at promoting the show, which I'm still trying to get better at. I'm trying to utilize social media. Hey, I'm on Instagram now, man.
I know you are. You treat Instagram like I treat Facebook.
Talk about being late to the game, right? So late to the game. But at least, I'm out there. Hey, that's how I'm starting to find. It's so much easier to find haunters on Instagram than it is on Facebook, because you actually, if you subscribe to somebody and you follow them on Instagram, you actually see their stuff. You don't have to pay to boost it, Like if I put something out there, people will see it. Like, you get immediate interaction. It's so much, it's just easier that way. So I've been doing a lot more Instagram, less Facebook. I'm in some of the groups, but like I say, I try to post daily to Instagram. And one thing that like I say, a lot of you SoCal guys pretty much have, you all have great branding. You guys all have really good logos and branding for your haunt. So whenever I come across, I'm like, is this a pro haunt? It's hard for me to say, just from the avatars and the branding of your Instagram and Facebook, it's hard to tell whether you're a pro haunt, whether you're a home haunt, because it always looks so much more professional. You guys are big on your branding out there for sure. And it's important. It's important to
well, I just get a kick out of
build that brand.
Yeah. And I have previous, experience in graphic design. So it's fairly easy for me, just like Scully, you do a great job with that because of all your background,
All right, dude. So, I guess that wraps things up. It brings us to the end. Where can people stalk you on the interwebs?
Whole House Haunt on Facebook and Instagram, and wholehousestudio.com.
Awesome. Hey, great conversation, man. Good having you.
Yeah, Chris, I really appreciate it, man.
No problem. And, as always, as we always say here, stay scary.
Please follow the podcast. Give us a 5-star review. Stalk us on social media. Links in the description. And visit our blog page for more show info at huntcastpodcast.net/blog. Until next time, stay scary.
Go ahead. Go on, there's the door. You can do better. Let's see how far you get.